The moment Commander Lyra Vance stepped into the Galactic Council chamber, the temperature seemed to drop, not because the climate controls shifted, but because every senator in the amphitheater turned their eyes toward her with the same expression, amused disdain. The triple-tiered hall shimmered with crystalline platforms, each occupied by an alien dignitary towering in ceremonial armor or draped in luminous skin folds. Humanity had earned its place here 3 decades ago, but the Council never accepted the idea that Earth could stand among species born thousands of years before it. Today, they intended to remind her of that. Valtharian Draskol, Arch-Speaker of the Council, leaned forward on his obsidian throne. His 4 eyes narrowed into slits of theatrical disappointment. "Commander Vance," he said, stretching each syllable as though speaking to a child learning its first language. "Earth sends a military officer instead of a diplomat. Again. Does your planet have no one who understands protocol?" Lyra didn't blink. "Protocol isn't the issue. Accuracy is." A wave of derisive laughter rippled across the chamber. A reptilian senator clicked her fangs against the railing. A crystalline envoy flickered bright blue, their species' sign of mockery. Lyra stood still through all of it, her expression smooth as brushed steel. She had endured this before, 14 years ago, when Earth first petitioned for equal standing. She remembered the same laughter then, too. Valtharian raised a hand, summoning silence. "Earth's defiance has reached amusing levels. You refuse taxation. You refuse fleet inspections. You refuse, let me confirm, subordination. Yet you claim you seek partnership." "We seek fairness," Lyra replied. "Fairness?" Valtharian barked. "Your species is a statistical irregularity, evolving faster than predicted, expanding faster than sanctioned, adapting beyond acceptable parameters. Fairness does not apply to anomalies." Lyra let the insult settle. She wasn't here to win their approval. She was here to record their words. "You summon Earth today," she said. "State your agenda." "Our agenda," Valtharian declared, rising to his full height, "is to restore order." A holoscreen ignited above him. Data spiraled across the chamber, economic charts, migration records, human fleet movements, all distorted to paint Earth as a reckless destabilizer. "We propose removal of Earth's diplomatic privileges," Valtharian continued. "Effective immediately." The hall erupted again, this time in triumph. Lyra's heartbeat didn't change. Her breathing remained measured. She looked up at the holoscreen with the same calm she used when examining battlefield maps. "You have already decided," she said quietly. "Indeed," Valtharian replied. "This hearing is ceremonial." Lyra lifted her wrist console and tapped a single command. The tiny click echoed louder than the crowd's murmurs. "Ceremonial events are still logged. Earth will require a complete transcript." "Of course," Valtharian said, smiling coldly. "History must remember this day." He motioned to the clerk. "Strip Earth of its council seat. Remove all voting rights. Reclassify human expansion as unauthorized. Effective now." The decree burned itself into the chamber walls. Council tradition meant no law could be erased once etched. Lyra watched the glowing symbols without expression. Valtharian leaned forward again. "Do you have anything to say before your world is corrected?" Lyra considered him for a moment. Behind her calm eyes, her mind ran through political consequences, defense readiness metrics, the activation sequence of the device hidden beneath Aegis Array's sealed floor. She wasn't here to argue. Earth had already chosen its path. "Earth stands on its own merits," she said. "You have reminded us of that today." Valtharian's smile widened. "So the little planet believes it can survive isolation?" "Belief isn't required," she said. "Capability is." The chamber fell silent for a heartbeat, not out of respect, but confusion. The council understood threats, anger, fear. They did not understand composure spoken like a verdict. Valtharian dismissed her with a flick of his hand. "Your time is over, human. Remove yourself from this chamber." Lyra turned without another word. Her boots clicked softly on the crystalline walkway. She didn't look back, even as senators whispered and laughed behind her. Through the archway, the transport corridor opened into a quiet atrium lit by soft amber panels. Only there did she exhale. Her shuttle awaited, sleek, obsidian, and unmarked. As she boarded, her assistant, a young strategist named Kaido-ren, looked up from his console. "How bad was it?" he asked. "They executed the decree," she said. "Revoked our seat? And rewrote our status." Kaido swallowed. "Then the Aegis array." "Full readiness," Lyra said. "Begin secure transit. We need to address the directors." The shuttle disengaged, gliding through the magnetic veil surrounding the council citadel. As the structure shrank behind them, its glittering towers looked almost harmless, ornate relics built atop centuries of oppression. Kaido lowered his voice. "They mocked Earth again, didn't they?" "Routine behavior," Lyra replied. "Does it ever get easier?" "No." The shuttle's windows revealed the swirling nebula surrounding the core. Kaido stared at the vibrant gases shifting like slow-moving storms. "Do you think they understand what they've triggered?" "If they did," Lyra said, "they wouldn't have spoken today." Minutes later, Earth appeared on the far holoscreen, blue and bright, surrounded by the massive ringed lattice of the Aegis array. It resembled a luminous spine encircling the planet's sky, segments rotating with microscopic precision. Most species saw it as an energy shield. Very few understood its real purpose. The shuttle docked inside the array's command spire. As Lyra stepped out, engineers, scientists, and tactical officers immediately straightened. General Corin Hale approached, his voice gravel-steady. "We saw the broadcast," he said. "The Council humiliated Earth again. Public channels are furious." "Anger doesn't help us," Lyra replied. "Readiness does." He nodded. "The array is primed. Phase lock sequences await your authorization." Lyra walked into the central chamber. The floor vibrated with a living hum, millions of micro-relays calibrating gravitational threads invisible to the naked eye. A spherical display hovered above the center table, showing the Council's decrees still burning in golden script. She evaluated the readings. "How long before the Council escalates?" "Hours," Corin said. "Their armada is stationed 2 systems out. They'll expect us to panic. And we will demonstrate that we do not." Corin hesitated. "Commander, once we activate the array, there's no hiding what Earth has built." "We were never meant to hide forever," Lyra said. "Today they erased our voice. Tomorrow they will learn what silence costs." Her palm hovered over the command panel. Kaido watched her closely, sensing the significance of this moment, not a declaration of war, but a refusal to kneel. "Commander," Corin said softly, "before you initiate, is there anything you want recorded for the historical log?" Lyra looked at the glowing council decree, arrogant, absolute, and careless. "Record this," she said. "Earth does not kneel." Her hand came down. The array awakened with a deep, resonant pulse that traveled through the structure like a heartbeat. Lights dimmed. Magnetic spines aligned. The greatest hidden weapon in human history opened its eyes. And the galaxy, though unaware, had just stepped into the moment it would never forget. The Council armada emerged from slipstream space in a flare of white light that scattered across the void like fractured glass. Thousands of ships, sleek dreadnoughts, gravity barges, ion-speared cruisers, aligned in formation until they filled the sector like a metal storm front. The lead flagship, the Valadran Ascendant, broadcast a triumphant signature, or ritual performed before enforcing Council authority. Inside the Aegis Array's command chamber, Commander Lyra Vance watched the projection with steady eyes. Dozens of officers moved around her, adjusting harmonics, scanning foreign signatures, and maintaining defensive protocols. None spoke above a near whisper. The array's core required concentration, and Lyra's presence demanded quiet professionalism. Kaido-ren stepped beside her, hands folded tightly behind his back. "Initial count confirms 13 Empire fleets," he said. "They arrived faster than predicted." They fear that delay might appear weak, Lyra replied. Arrogance and insecurity travel together. General Corin Hale approached with a data slate. They've issued a sector-wide broadcast. They want your attention. Lyra flicked her fingers, and the message unfolded above the table, a tall hologram of Archspeaker Veltharion, cloaked in ceremonial armor, his tone dripping with conditioned authority. Humans of Earth, he began, your unauthorized refusal to submit ends now. You have violated council hierarchy, ignored diplomatic rulings, and provoked lawful correction. Stand down immediately and prepare for containment. The holo shifted to an image of the amassed fleets. We will not repeat ourselves. The transmission ended without giving Earth a moment to reply, a classic demonstration of dominance. Kaito exhaled. They're certain we'll beg. Lyra adjusted her gloves. They expect a reaction rooted in fear. They understand neither our patience nor our preparation. Corin lowered his voice. Commander, if we deploy phase lock for the first time in active conditions, we commit humanity to a precedent. The galaxy will never treat us the same. That is the point, she said. The chamber darkened as the array's internal spines rotated into position, each aligning through complex magnetic fields. The hum that followed was different from its activation earlier, no longer a heartbeat, but a rising pressure that filled the air with a sensation like standing near a storm that had not yet decided where to strike. A sensor officer called out, Commander, we're receiving another incoming message. Direct line from Veltharion. Put it through, Lyra said. This time the Archspeaker appeared in a smaller frame, his expression colder. I advise you to consider the cost of resistance. Humanity has survived because the Council allowed it. You have mistaken tolerance for equality. Surrender now, and we will avoid unnecessary casualties. Lyra kept her tone even. We heard your decree. This is our answer. She terminated the channel before he could respond. The officers exchanged brief looks, sensing the silent shift that marked the end of negotiation and the beginning of calculation. Corin straightened. All units ready for your command. Lyra stepped to the center panel. The interface lit beneath her touch, recognizing her command authority. A three-dimensional map of the Armada expanded across the chamber, showing every enemy vessel in perfect detail. Engage phase lock, minimal aperture, she ordered. Demonstration parameters only. Engineers confirmed the calibration. Micro-relays synchronized across the array, forming a sphere of influence invisible to the eye but potent enough to reshape the fundamental behavior of space. Kaito watched the display. Commander, once we commit, the Council will realize we've been preparing for centuries. That realization is overdue, she replied softly. The countdown initiated. A vibration traveled through the floor, followed by a pressure change so subtle it felt like the air was holding its breath. The array fired. There was no beam, no flash, no sound, only an instantaneous alteration in the physics surrounding the Armada. On the tactical projection, the fleets began to lock mid-maneuver. Ships halted in perfect stillness, engines frozen in luminous suspension. Plasma weapons flickered but refused to advance. Ion thrusters glowed without producing movement. Entire cruisers became sculptures carved into the void. Officer Mara Tylan whispered, they're not immobilized by force fields, the region itself isn't allowing motion. Correct, Lyra said. We alter the constant. Space no longer behaves as they expect. Across the projection, emergency lights flickered inside alien vessels. Confusion erupted through their comms, shouts, alarms, disbelief. Corin studied the readings. No casualties. Systems still functioning. They're conscious, just unable to interact with space normally. Good, Lyra said. This demonstration does not require death. Several enemy ships attempted warp ignition. Their engines compressed, stabilized, and collapsed back into stillness as if reality itself rejected the attempt. Kaito looked stunned. Commander, they can't escape. They don't need to, Lyra said. They only need to understand. Suddenly a new transmission forced its way through encryption shields. Valtharion appeared, shaken but trying to hide it. "What have you done?" he demanded. "Our fleets are trapped in a suspension field no empire has catalogued. You will deactivate this weapon immediately." "No," Lyra replied. "You will reconsider your approach. This is an act of war. You issued the ultimatum. We declined." Valtharion's voice cracked. "You cannot hold 13 fleets hostage." "We have harmed no one," Lyra said calmly. "We have merely prevented you from harming us." He leaned closer, desperate fury twisting his features. "Release them, human. Your species cannot wield power of this scale responsibly." Lyra tilted her head slightly. "Responsibility requires capability. You question ours." She paused. "This is the correction." She closed the channel. At once, sensor warnings lit across the array, Council worlds initiating additional fleet mobilization. Corrin checked readings. "They're preparing a second wave." Lyra studied the new data. The coordinates of deployment matched 3 industrial empires known for high-output shipyards. "Activate extended parameters," she said. "Target only warp corridors. No direct pressure on the systems." The array pulsed again, its rings shifting into deeper resonance. A faint tremor passed through the chamber, a sign the device was entering layers of operation only a handful of humans had witnessed. Moments later, reports streamed in. All warp corridors destabilized. Second wave fleets unable to depart. Slipstream anchors failing across 3 empires. Kaito stared at the data in disbelief. "We've blocked their reinforcements without firing a shot." Lyra nodded. "The lesson must travel faster than their fleets." As the chamber absorbed the magnitude of what they had unleashed, the projection of the frozen armada remained suspended in eerie perfection. Enemy ships glowed faintly under the distorted physics, silent evidence that the rules of war had shifted. Corrin broke the silence. "Commander, what comes next?" Lyra kept her eyes on the armada. "We wait," she said. Arrogance collapses quickly when faced with evidence. She turned away from the projection, her voice steady, certain. "And the Council has just seen the first proof that Earth is no longer a footnote in their records." The Council citadel shook as gravitational anchors flickered out one by one, plunging the massive structure into unstable equilibrium. Senators clung to railings, assistants drifted helplessly through the air, and emergency drones scrambled across the decks attempting to restore order. But every system they touched responded sluggishly, as if the citadel itself had slipped into a dream it could not wake from. At the center of the chaos, Archspeaker Valtharion gripped his podium, refusing to lose composure even as his cloak floated around him like torn banners. "Stabilize the chamber," he roared. A technician spun upward, unable to stop himself. "Sir, gravity regulators aren't responding. The constant is fluctuating outside the acceptable range." Valtharion slammed a fist against the console. "Humans did this. Reverse it." "We can't override manipulated constants," the technician replied, his voice trembling. "The rules around the citadel are altered." The admission fractured the room. Senators shouted over one another, fear finally drowning superiority. Valtharion opened a direct channel. "Commander Vance," he barked, "I demand communication, now." Static filled the line, brief, deliberate, before Lyra's face appeared. Her background showed the calm interior of the Aegis Array command chamber, unshaken by the storm consuming the citadel. "Archspeaker," she said. "I assume you have questions." Valtharion pointed a rigid finger toward the screen. "Release our systems. You have trapped a governing body of 47 species in a destabilized structure. This is an act of annihilation." "No," Lyra said. "If that had been our goal, you would not be speaking." He hesitated, thrown by the controlled certainty in her voice. "Then explain this outrage." "You required proof," she said. "You now have it." Behind her, the projection of the frozen armada rotated in perfect stillness. Thousands of ships remained locked in a reality they no longer understood. The sight caused the chamber to fall quiet, even Veltharian's fury dimmed under the weight of the image. You attacked with overwhelming force, Lyra continued, believing Earth incapable of response. We demonstrated restraint. Your fleets are unharmed, suspended in a field designed to prevent bloodshed. Senator Rytha, a crystalline envoy, spun anxiously. You changed the behavior of space. How is that restraint? Lyra met her gaze through the projection. Because the alternative was destruction. The chamber froze, not because of gravity failures, but because everyone understood that she meant it literally. Veltharian steadied himself, though the strain in his expression showed cracks beneath the facade. What is it you want? Recognition, Lyra said. Respect. Sovereignty without imposed hierarchy. We cannot rewrite structure based on fear, he replied. Lyra's eyes narrowed slightly. This is not about fear. It is about balance. You created a system that elevates older species at the expense of newer ones. You believed rising civilizations must remain beneath you. Earth will not accept that. Senator after senator muttered in anxious tones. The old order was dissolving, and they could all feel it. Lyra stepped aside so the projection could expand. A new sequence unfolded, council infrastructures across multiple star systems flickering as phase-lock operations disrupted energy grids, communication relays, and warp networks. Not enough to cause harm, but sufficient to halt offensive capability. This is a controlled intervention, Lyra said. We targeted only military and political structures involved in the ultimatum. Civilians remain unaffected. Trade routers untouched. Medical networks preserved. Veltharian stared, stunned. You crippled our military reach within minutes. You attempted to cripple an entire world, Lyra answered. We responded proportionally. A long silence stretched across the chamber, broken only by drifting objects bumping gently into railings. Veltharian tried one final angle. If you have this power, what stops you from using it again? What prevents humanity from ruling by force? Lyra folded her hands behind her back. Discipline. The same discipline you mocked for centuries. Her calm pierced the room sharper than any threat. Kaito's voice entered from off-screen. Commander, secondary parameters are stable. They await your decision. Lyra nodded but did not break eye contact with Veltharian. This is the moment where you decide whether the galaxy evolves, or collapses under its own arrogance. Veltharian's gaze shifted between the terrified senators, the failing chamber, and the frozen fleets suspended in the void. Every assumption he held, every doctrine, every political instinct, had been inverted in a single day. He drew a slow, shaking breath. What do you propose? Lyra projected a document across the chamber. Earth's unconditional sovereignty. Full diplomatic rights. Recognition as a major power. Removal of all derogatory classifications. And a rectification broadcast acknowledging the Council's misconduct. And if we sign, he asked. Your systems will return to normal within minutes. Your fleets will regain control. The phase-lock algorithms will withdraw, and the array will revert to passive mode. And if we refuse? Lyra didn't raise her voice. Then you will remain suspended in a galaxy governed by forces you cannot navigate. The senators erupted in frantic argument, but Veltharian silenced them with a raised hand. The weight of the moment pressed visibly on him. For the first time in his long career, he was dealing with a species whose capability exceeded every projection. He looked at Lyra again. The Council has stood for 9,000 years. Do you understand what it means for us to concede? I understand that history only matters when it adapts, she replied. Something in her tone, controlled, precise, undeniably resolute, broke the last of his resistance. Veltharian activated the signature pad. I sign in the interest of preventing catastrophe. One by one, senators added their marks. Not out of respect, but survival. Lyra inclined her head. A wise decision. Her hand brushed a soft command across her console. Instantly, the Citadel's gravity stabilized. Lights brightened. The chamber settled. A rush of relief swept through the hall. Across the galaxy, warp corridors reopened, energy grids normalized, and the frozen armada resumed motion, its ships drifting into controlled positioning as though waking from a shared nightmare. Valtharion sagged in exhaustion. "It is done." "No," Lyra said, her voice quiet but absolute. "It has begun." The transmission ended. Inside the Aegis array, officers exhaled cautiously as systems wound down from battle posture. Corrin approached Lyra. "Commander, the galaxy will never view Earth the same way again." "Good," she said. Kaito looked at her with a mix of awe and disbelief. "What now?" Lyra watched the stars outside the array, vast, silent, no longer overshadowed by empires convinced of their superiority. "Now," she said, "we build a future they cannot twist with mockery." As she walked from the command chamber, the arcs of the array dimmed to their passive glow. Behind her, the whispers began, officers repeating the line that would define the new era. The Aegis array drifted in steady rotation above Earth, its metallic arcs gleaming faintly as sunlight struck their edges. What had once been a secret defensive structure now served as the symbol of a power the galaxy had underestimated for millennia. Inside its command chamber, the atmosphere had shifted. Officers worked with meticulous calm, no longer burdened by the dread of proving their world's right to exist. Instead, they carried the awareness that every decision would shape civilizations far beyond their own. Commander Lyra Vance stood at the observation window, hands clasped behind her back. She watched the liberated warp lanes shimmer back into stability. Fleets from the 13 empires retreated slowly, maintaining a wide berth from Earth's influence. No one risked provoking any misunderstanding, not after the demonstration they had witnessed. Kaito approached with a report. "The Council broadcast is circulating," he said. "Every major network has replayed Valtharion's address." The message reached 90% of known territories. Lyra nodded. The galaxy needed clarity. Kaito hesitated. Some worlds react with astonishment. Others with caution. A few even express gratitude. They saw what we did not do. "The absence of violence speaks louder than force," Lyra replied. General Corrin Hale joined them, his demeanor more contemplative than during the confrontation. "Commander, reconstruction updates are coming in." The Council's core systems stabilized faster than predicted. Medical centers remained operational throughout the event. Damage reports are minimal. "That was the intent," Lyra said. "Precision prevents escalation." Corrin studied her profile. "You anticipated every possible outcome, didn't you?" "Every outcome except how quickly they conceded," she said. "Fear breaks rigid structures faster than reason." An alert chimed. A message awaited priority viewing. Kaito opened it on the central display. The image of Valtharion appeared, no grandeur, no ornamented chamber behind him this time. He sat in a modest briefing room, posture tense but sincere. "Commander Vance," he began, "the Council has ratified the agreement. Earth now holds full diplomatic equality. For the first time, our doctrines will include provisions for species that rise at unpredictable rates. Your world has forced us to reconsider every foundational principle." Lyra listened without expression. Valtharion continued, "I am sending this message not as a demand or declaration, but as acknowledgement. The Council misjudged humanity. That mistake will not be repeated." The transmission ended. Kaito exhaled slowly. "It feels surreal." Valtharion admitting fault, "That's a cosmic first." Lyra turned to him. "Power changes behavior. But transformation comes from understanding. We've shown them consequences. Now we show them direction." Corrin raised a brow. "Direction? Earth will take a seat not as a subordinate, but as a stabilizing force," she said. "Not through intimidation. Through capability and integrity." Kaito tilted his head. "You believe they'll accept that?" "They have no alternative. A fear-built peace collapses fast. A respected peace endures." Before either officer could reply, another alert resonated, a diplomatic request from a frontier world in the Orion Spur. The message was simple: we seek dialogue with Earth. Your demonstration has revealed potential alliances beyond Council oversight. Kaito smiled faintly. The galaxy is already rearranging itself. Lyra stepped toward the console. Open a channel with them. We speak with every world that approaches in good faith. As technicians relayed her instructions, Corrin walked beside her. Commander, permission to speak openly? Always, Lyra said. You've changed the structure of interstellar politics forever. How does that sit with you? Lyra paused. Her gaze drifted to Earth, a sphere of blue and green suspended in the vast dark. Power was never the goal. Survival was. The rest is responsibility. Corrin nodded. Humanity needed someone to set the tone. Humanity needs everyone to uphold it, she corrected gently. A soft thrum filled the chamber, the array transitioning into post-operation recalibration. Light cascaded along its ribs in quiet pulses. Despite its immense potential, every part of it felt strangely peaceful now, as if it had served its first true purpose and awaited new instructions. Kaito approached again. We've received another message. This one from civilian networks across the galaxy. He activated a mosaic of screens, alien species from dozens of worlds speaking directly to Earth. Gratitude, relief, astonishment, and even admiration filled the displays. One message stood out, a young scholar from a distant nebula cluster. You changed everything without destroying anything. That's what strength should look like. Lyra allowed herself a small breath of satisfaction. The galaxy is learning. A deeper voice came from behind them. So are we. It was Admiral Reese Calderon, Director of Earth's Strategic Council, arriving via secure hololink. Commander Vance, he said, the administration requests an evaluation. With the new political landscape, how should Earth navigate its emerging alliances? Carefully, Lyra answered. We lead with stability. We offer technological cooperation without military leverage. And we remain transparent about our capabilities. Reese nodded. There's also internal pressure. Many citizens expect a celebratory stance. Others worry about retaliation. We give them truth, Lyra said. This isn't victory. It's recognition. And recognition comes with expectations. Reese smirked. I'll trust your judgment. You've earned that authority. The projection dissolved. Kaito turned toward Lyra with a softer expression. Commander, what about you? After everything today, after facing down 13 empires, after bringing the council to its knees, what comes next for you? Lyra looked out at Earth again. Its oceans glimmered. Its cities sparkled like threads of silver. For the first time in her life, she saw her home not as a fragile world fighting for acknowledgement, but as a force capable of shaping its own destiny. What comes next, she said, is ensuring this moment becomes a foundation, not a weapon. Corrin crossed his arms. Humanity will follow your lead. Humanity must follow its own convictions, she replied. If the galaxy learns anything from today, let it be this: strength is clearest when restraint guides it. The array's ambient glow intensified briefly, signaling that all systems had returned to equilibrium. The galaxy outside spun quietly, unaware of the thousands of subtle shifts already unfolding in political networks, scientific alliances, and social movements. Earth had risen, calmly, decisively, undeniably, and the universe had taken notice. Kaito moved to her side again. Commander, transmission from the Council. They're requesting your presence for the first joint summit under the new charter. Lyra gave a faint, steady nod. Prepare the transport. I'll attend. Corrin smiled. Do you plan to be gentle with them? I plan to be honest. As she walked toward the exit, officers straightened instinctively. She paused before the doors parted. Remember this, she said, her voice level but carrying across the chamber. We stand where we do not because we forced submission, but because we refused humiliation. That difference will define the next era. The doors slid open. Beyond them, the corridor stretched toward the docking bay, the path to a galaxy learning, at last, to speak to Earth as an equal. Behind her, the quiet murmur of officers rose in unified certainty.